Gorilla Comm going 10-8. What's up, guys? What a mess of a vessel. Today I'm trying to repair this patrol boat here for law enforcement, and the history of this boat is I got a call to fix one radio, and when I get here, the replacement radio that I put in there, the power amplifier blows up on it or gets damaged. So I'm like, what the hell's going on with this? So I look deeper and deeper, and I test the antenna. The antenna is shorted out, and that antenna is this one, this marine antenna here, that's laying down. Of course, we're in some sort of barn here, equipment barn, and I can't really put this up. So this one is for their VHF radios that they use for mutual aid with other agencies. That other whip right over here is for their marine band radio, which is VHF just as well, and this little stubby here for their agency radio, and that's working on 800 megahertz, this guy right here. Now I got to be careful with these guys because I've already gotten bit quite a few times. These guys like to switch antennas back and forth. They'll switch the VHF with the 800 and then complain about something that's, why isn't it working? Well, same thing with this boat, but entirely more hideous than what you would think. They failed to tell me when I started into this, 3 hours into this, that somebody decided to use this as a submarine. This vessel was completely sunk in the bottom of a lake, and then, you know, they fished it out, took it to a depot, and they somewhat replaced a whole bunch of things. But anything that gets any type of water damage is not 100%, and the guys here were telling me, yep, since that incident, things weren't 100%. It was never the same, and I could tell by the radio equipment that that's the case here. First of all, I'm sure they didn't replace the antennas. Now that they tell me that, now that I know the history of this, I could tell that there is water damage and corrosion. Luckily it's not salt water, then it would have been beyond repair, economic repair for sure. But all in all, still, water damage is still a pain in the ass. First of all, look at this wire here that I'm tracing out. You could probably not tell, but there is some sort of tarnish on it, some sort of corrosion on it, and it's breaking contact. This boat actually has 3 radios. Their agency radio here, it's a EF Johnson, 800 megahertz. This is their marine radio, right there, for marine band radios. And then they have their agency radio, their allied agency radio that resides on that spot right up there. And it's this piece of crap radio. It's a Midland, I forgot the name of this. It's a Midland VHF radio. It was engineered in the United States, but it's made in Turkey. Well, I think they actually engineered this in Turkey as well. Midland used to be a kick-ass American, all-American company back in the day, but they severely dropped the ball with this model here. It just sucks ass. I don't have time to get into what I'm talking about, but I really don't like it. I had this in my service truck for about a year, and I took it out. I put my Kenwood back in there. Piece of shit. But anyway, that blew up. So this is inside the equipment cabinet where the steering wheel is, and here's the steering wheel, that box right there. And here are most of the electrical connections to all the devices that are connected to the boat, and part of it is the radio has it too. this fuse right here, or this holder here, at first the agency radio wasn't turning on at all. So I traced the wires out, and this is the power supply for the boat, and it's really loose. Look at that, it's just like a train on rails, and you could tell by the vibration and, you know, movement and all that, this guy right here is just going to slip on out or just not work at all. It's pretty clean, so at least they cleaned that particular circuit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to this butt connector here with a pair of pliers. I'm going to squeeze those curls there a little bit tighter together to grab on to this stub right here. I'm checking the other ones for the radar, the GPS, and all these other ones here, and they're solid. They're not going nowhere. The only one that was loose was the radio one. Okay, I got that tightened up, and that guy ain't moving nowhere anytime soon. Now I'm going to verify the location of this antenna. I don't have prints to this boat, so I have to manually trace everything out from start to finish to make sure that these guys didn't plug in the wrong radio to the wrong antenna. So I'm going to put a tone on this. Right now the antenna is disconnected, and I'm going to generate a tone and put it on the center conductor there to see where I would find that antenna. And I'll show you what I mean. So this device here, you see them at Home Depot. I don't know if the Home Depot has this model, specific model, but they have a variant of this that doesn't have these RJ45 breakouts. And not only do I use the RJ45 standard on this, I sort of scribbled on a cheat sheet for RJ11 and 12. Those are the phone system standard for wiring on this plug here. So either way, you know, I'll know what pins are what. And anyway, this device here could do continuity and generate a tone. In the middle position, this is off. On the left, it turns into a tone generator, and on the right, it turns into a continuity checker to make sure your wires are not are shorted or open. So right now, I got the generator on, and this here is an inductive sort of speaker amplifier. You just got to get really close to a audio source, and it'll pick up the generator here, and it's got a volume control, and that's what I use to kind of trace out the wires, provided that it's not parallel going into other networks or something like that, like DC power. That would be hard to trace out because DC goes everywhere in this boat. But this is just one wire going to the antenna, from here to the antenna. So I got the center conductor hooked up to it. Verify my tone is at the source here. So let's look at the antennas on top. This one is the marine band one. There's no tone there. This one here is your VHF allied agencies. Nope. And this little stubby here is the antenna that I suspect that tone is on. Yep, it's there. This guy's mine, and I know it's going to the right place. That's pretty much how I trace out the antennas on multiple installs like this. And if I still got problems, I know that's my problem child, and I go deeper into troubleshooting. Like this antenna here that I'm going to replace. I already know that this is damaged, and I have to replace this here. And I already verified that it's going to the right radio. So here's my replacement antenna, and this is the antenna mount or housing that goes with it, and this is the damaged one. It's a different sort of system. I thought I could maybe unscrew this here, but it's actually permanently connected to the chrome sleeve here that hooks up to the mounting system here. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, well, I have to take it off the mount here so I could freely unscrew this part right here and see what's on the inside. Let's see what that looks like. So of course this is not going to let me do anything the easy way. UHF connector built into the antenna, where this one is hardwired in there. It seems like it's hardwired in there. It's a big old glob of goop there. No way I'm going to get that out. So I'm going to have to cut the cable here and put a connector on it to fit this end here. Now given the choice, I could fish the wire through this access hole up this way, and utilizing these grommets there. This grommet here is a little bit too big. I would have to use this grommet and poke a hole through it for the diameter of the cable here. You know, I don't want to do that now. I want to block off that hole right there using this full cover here, grommet. And it seems like this mount here has a little channel cut out for the wire. I could just fish it up this way and it'll be a better seal, and the water would, you know, just drip on out. This boat is really pissing me off. Well, I put this connector on, a UHF connector, and for shits and giggles I'm gonna check for continuity. I'm not supposed to get any continuity between the center conductor and the ground shield. Here's the other end of the cable. It's not connected to anything, so I shouldn't have any continuity between those 2 points. If using this tester again, instead of putting it on the tone generator function, I just flip the switch over to continuity, and if there's continuity, this green light should come on. So I'm going to the look at the background. That's not good. If I connect my radio to that, it's going to burn out my power amplifier. Though on this model radio, it would just not transmit at all. It'll sense that and protect the radio from any damage. Okay guys, let's troubleshoot this cable here. It's really pissing me off here. So I took the connector off and I isolated this end on top. I got the center conductor totally separated from the shield, ground. So that should be open, no continuity between those two. I'm going to go over to the other connector right down here, and there's my tester, and I'm going to test to see if there's any continuity. Yep, there is. So the short must be either on the line itself or this connector. I'm going to go ahead and isolate this connector too, to see if the wire itself is shorted out somewhere. That's probably what damaged the radio in the beginning and gave me a false reading of the antenna being defective. The antenna more than likely would have been okay. Okay, here we go. This is the other end. I'm just going to test my tester to see if it's working okay. Yep, it's working. So I'm going to go on the shield. I shouldn't see no light come on now. And I don't. So the problem was this connector here. Okay, the antenna seems to be in order right now, so let's test it for sure. So right now we're going to test the agency 800 megahertz antenna. So I'm going to have to turn on all the power. I don't know which one turns what on, but I'm going to just turn them all on, these switches here. And this here is the RF, the actual radio part of the agency radio on 800 megahertz. And the control head is remoted through the cable to the front of the center console here. And I got my watt meter there to test out the antenna forward and reflective power. Let me just verify that I'm in the okay frequency to use. Okay, that seemed to be a pretty good bullshit channel that I will not interfere with anybody. So I go back down here. Okay, so that's going to be forward power. I got like 28 watts coming out. That's going forward. Now let's check for reflective. I should have no more than 10% of the power going back to my radio. Transmit. That's way less than 10%. I'm good to go. See just how small that jump is? So that antenna is good to go. Now this is a true testament of the damage that moisture or water in general will cause your equipment. I got done with one radio, so I'm going to check out the marine band radio here. And it's a Raytheon 49 VHF radio. When I went to turn this sucker on, it was deader than a doorknob. So I checked the wiring again, and this is part of the wiring, and it's usually mounted in this top panel here, and right back there is the fuse panel for it. And I disconnected one of those butt connectors there, the VHF one, and sure enough it was corroded and loose, just like the other radio that I showed before. So I did the same thing, cleaned off the corrosion, put some contact cleaner, tightened up the connection there, and it powers up right away. So this boat here is just giving all it's got to me. I mean, busted antenna, busted cable, corrosion everywhere. But let's get past this here and let's check the antenna. I'm going to get a little bit of reflective power because I'm underneath an equipment barn, and I'm surrounded by metal, so I may or may not cause some interference here or reflective power. But ideally I would like to be out in the open, or better yet in the lake with this, you know what I mean. But anyway, let's give it a test. I'm on channel 61. It says here it's a US government sort of channel, so let's go interfere with those boys. Actually, we're not, but here we go. Forward power. I'm kicking out 26, yeah, 26 watts. Let's go reflective. That's the power being reflected back into your antenna. If the antenna was messed up or the cable, that should be going like halfway or maybe full scale. But it should be no more than 10%, and that looks like 4 watts out of 26. I'm calling that good because I'm in this equipment barn, and to me that looks okay. So the antenna connection is good on that, and I'm going to put that back into service. Wow, what an ordeal. This thing's got 3 separate radios, and all of them had something wrong. And they still have things wrong, just from taking a submarine ride down to the bottom of the lake. Okay, the marine band radio, that's working okay now. All the contacts are cleaned off and it turns on reliably. That's the marine band right up there somewhere. The agency radio, that's working fine now, so they could talk to their dispatch and do whatever they need to do. But there's an output that goes to an external amplified speaker here, this guy right here. When the engines are going full blast, they have the option of using the speaker here, and it'll amplify the audio coming off the motors. Usually they have headsets, but they don't have that setup here for this boat. But it looks like the speaker output feeding this guy here is damaged. I believe it's the circuitry within the radio. I can't replace it until I get another replacement in its place. That makes sense. But they at least have the speaker from the front of the radio here. And I think you heard there's a kickback. Really faint. So I have to replace that in a later date. Now their interagency radio up here, that was the original problem. And avoid this antenna, digital antenna. The original one was messed up, including the cable that this thing is supplied with, and the replacement antenna, this guy right here. This is supposedly brand spanking new, and it doesn't work. It's like there's nothing there. So as a temporary fix until I get the parts that I need, this boat has to go into duty pretty soon. This boat does a lot of rescues and enforcement, law enforcement stuff and all that kind of stuff, and they need to have all their comms up 100%. So this is what I was reduced to doing. This thing is tie wrapped down to the mount here. This is just a regular mag mount. There's no iron here or steel, so it cannot stick to anything. It's all aluminum, but it's pretty secure right there. This thing is even stronger than the original stuff. And that VHF antenna will work. And I already tested it out and it's doing a hell of a lot better than the original fiberglass marine band antenna. But that's the temporary solution until I come back. Gorilla Comm, go on 1010.